let's finally get around to talking about this week. And how many do you think we all agreed upon?
Gosh, probably not many because what many? These odds are not good this week. I'm going to say 2, 3, maybe at the most.
None.
Oh wow, 0.
Zero. You and I, we usually have picks together, 0. So, and the reason is we went the exact different strategy, which is I decided, I got to tell you, I came this close actually to putting everything on Elliott.
It's funny you say that. I almost did too. And then I just did not like the 3-1. I did not like that number that
I know they're killing us with the 3-1. Now I don't know. I got to
3-1,
check
the Larson.
Bovada to see if they've got 4-1 on there, but it's possible
Yeah,
other sports books don't have 3-1.
I almost did too, and I was like, well, do I want to put my eggs all in the one basket of the guy? Granted, there is every sign out there that he can win this race.
Yep.
Every sign out there. But I feel good with Larson. I feel good with Truex. I feel good with Reddick.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. You basically decided, I'm going to take 4 against 1.
Yep.
And I went the opposite.
I played the numbers game.
I went with half on Elliott, and you did the 4: Larson, Truex, Reddick, and McDowell. And those were your 4. Those were your picks. That's it.
That's it. Yeah, that's the good thing about being at the track. You can see the mannerisms, you can see the speed, you can see what people are saying. You can talk. It's because I thought, well, do I go with more sleepers? And no, after seeing it in person and 2 road courses in a row, you kind of know what you got. Granted, Indy and Watkins Glen are 2 different tracks, but they are 2 road courses. It is a package, and you can start seeing some trends and themes going on here. And I tried with Allmendinger, and then I realized 12-1 was not a good number for a guy that literally, when he was so dejected last week at Indy, talking to him on Saturday, we got no speed. And any plans for a standby driver with your wife pregnant, they should have a standby driver for me already because I suck, basically is what he said. They don't even need me in the car. And then he just had a dismal rate. I mean, it's just like, I don't see you going from that to winning in a week. It's too much.
Who knows? Maybe so he's still waiting for the kid to be born?
I think if the kid, I'm assuming his wife's going to get induced this week.
Hey, maybe that'll be what he needs to go out and, that could be an interesting storyline. But in his races this year on road courses, he only has 1 top 10.
Yep, he is 19th in road course points.
That
does not merit 12-1 to me.
No. Last week was 16-1. That's what he said. That's where he belonged. And now they're putting him back to 12.
Yeah, I don't like how they did the odds I mean, they just grouped like, hey, here's some favorites pretty much all in an umbrella, and here's some guys that don't deserve to be at these odds. Well, they just are. It almost seems like the odds makers just kind of half-assed this week's odds.
Elliott should not be 3-1. I mean, that's just
no.
If Chase was having a regular Chase season, he would be 3-1.
Yeah,
and they're basically
that's why I didn't take him.
Forgiving everything that's been going on, forgiving the fact that he hasn't really contended very much, and just said, still 3-1.
Yeah, it's just like they didn't bait anybody into betting anything. This would be one race that I would bet like top 3s and top 5s than an outright, just because they did a poor job on grouping these drivers together. McDowell
down to 10-1.
10-1. It's like, goodness gracious.
Yeah. He was 28 last week.
Yeah, and he's 10-1, and it's just in Reddick. I like his chances. But 8-1, it's like I went with them just because I feel good about him. But 8-1 for a guy that just in his road course spent 33rd, 28th, 4th, and 1st. I mean, those are his finishes this year.
Yeah, this is not
8-1.
After winning COTA, everything has changed. I mean, he was okay last week, but he wasn't like the top 3.
No, I just can't. I honestly thought when this was going to open, I thought Elliott would be the favorite, but more like 5 or 6 to 1. Larson maybe 7 to 1. Um, Probably
Yeah,
Truex
Truex would be there
8, 9
again.
to 1.
Yeah.
Reddick 10 to 1, 11. But they just threw these guys. Well, it's just like, man, what were they thinking? Are you trying not to get people to bet on this race? I don't know what they were thinking, but they did not do a good job on putting these odds out. That's for sure.
Yeah, Elliott, yes, dominated 2 wins right off the bat, but the last 2 years has not won at Watkins Glen and led 29 laps in the 2 races, 29 all last year. So it's not like he dominated the last 2 years, anything like he did the first 2 years, and he's having his worst year, and he's 3 to 1. Larson is the back-to-back champ, but he only led 5 laps last year and 27 the year before that. So he didn't dominate the way Elliott did the first 2 years. So we've had the 4 straight Hendrick winners, Elliott back-to-back, Larson back-to-back, but Elliott clearly dominated a lot easier than Larson has the last 2. But Larson, at least, it was okay last week. And you mentioned Truex has a win, but that was 2017. 23rd last year with the new car, even though, of course, things have changed for Truex after the Sonoma win. But let's remember, that's why we talked about it last week when he was the favorite at 4 to 1. It's sort of like what we're talking about Elliott. In a way, it's like Truex, wait a second. Okay, he did really good at Sonoma, but you had him at 25 to 1 there or 30 to 1, and then he's nothing at Chicago and really didn't do much at all. He was top 10 last week. He wasn't a top 5 car. And yeah, so I don't know. So all of a sudden, I look at it, and he's not a dominating road course driver this year.
Not at all. And that's what kind of the only reason I even took Truex. I do think he's a solid play for like a top 5 if you can find him. I know he was plus 180 for a top 3. It was the trend wise is alternating. He was 3rd to 7th, and then 2nd to 7th. So the trend says he's going to win. And he's had good finishes at Watkins Glen. 5 straight top 10s, 4 of which in the top 3 until last year. So he dominated Sonoma. He's got speed. I just didn't get a feel like he had good enough race-winning speed here at Indy last week. And that's the only thing that struck me. I'm like, I don't think he's got the speed. But it's the trends, and he's good there. So I rolled the dice with where he was. But Elliott, I even looked too, he's led 8 laps on road courses this year, 8 total. All season, he's led 39 total laps. That's it, 39 laps. He should not be 3 to 1 leading 39 laps. That's the one. That's why it's like that just does not sit well with me for a guy that's led 39 laps all week to just jump into, oh yeah, let's put him at 3 to 1.
Yeah.
And Truex, Truex I struggled with, but at the end of the day, I do think trends and Larson, he's trending better. I mean, Watkins Glen his last 4, 6th, 8th, 1st, and 1st, so he's won the last 2. Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, those are the only 2 drivers to win back-to-back at Watkins Glen. So
no one's
the
ever
odds
won
are
3
not
straight?
on his side. Yeah, or 3 straight, yeah, back-to-back-to-back.
Oh, they have, okay.
No, there's the only 2 that won. Yeah, they're the only 2 that won 3 straight. So those aren't good odds. Saying there's only 2 drivers ever that have done it. But he does have 7 top 10 finishes of his last 10 of the season. He had a top 5 car at Indy. He overshot turn 12 and had to do a stop and go in that corner, which dropped him from 5th to 10th, and he just couldn't make it back up. So we know he's faster. We know Hendrick's faster. And I feel like with him and Elliott, I just feel like they're so similar. You're getting 5 to 1 on one and 3 to 1 on the other. You better as well go with the 5 to 1 and pick more drivers than roll the dice with the others. So, but I just think you could put a blanket over Larson and Truex. Just could go either way.
And what we said before, this is such a significant qualifying racetrack. You go back, the first race was 1957. It's 39 races. And 79% of the winners started in the top 7. Yeah. 79. It's 31 of 39. And 66% in the top 5, 33% in the top 2. That's 1/3 top 2. And then you have 10 pole sitters is 25.6%. The last 5 started in the top 2 rows. So the farthest back anyone's ever won was 18th. That's it. So qualifying comes, you're outside the top 18, forget it. Save your money. I would even save your money if you're outside the top 10. I mean, why even risk it? It just doesn't happen very often. And
especially too, like we talked a little bit ago, Indy, the top 4 finished in the top 4, and without the stage breaks, you're taking the strategy of, well, we'll just pit before the stage break. You're taking that all out.
Yeah.
This race has a chance to be clean and green for a long time because of that, because you got guys that are just going to settle in. And with that said, the faster cars are going to find their way to the front. And if they're already at the front, unless they screw up in the pits, how are they going to go backwards? So yeah, qualifying is going to be a huge, huge play this weekend. And I also have it right here. The road course on stage points. I mean, Sonoma, Chicago, Indy, the last 3, the driver that won finished second, third, and first in the first stage. And the stage 2, even if you want to go to Coda, they finished first, 7th, 4th, 2nd. So if they're up front, it's going to be hard to push them back. So I think at the start of the race, the track position is going to be key. So if you got somebody starting well outside the top 10, you probably want to fade them this week.
I mean, that's why it's going to be one of those things where you have to decide whether to put money on before or after qualifying, because I mean, if it's Elliott, you're definitely waiting. You can't get worse than 3-1, depending on what you're really getting at the sports book. There's no way you'd even worry about that. I mean, what are they going to make him even money if he's on the pole? I mean, then just save your money. I don't know. Maybe Reddick and Truex, you could lose money if they're on the pole and they qualify and they practice, really good. Maybe you lose a little bit there. But yeah, I don't think much else. It's just those top guys. Now, I did put 28 on Suarez. So he's my big money one this week. And I'm just going to gamble that he's got this little run going now again. And he's good on the road courses. 5th last year, 3rd last week, 3 top 5s out of 5 at Watkins Glen. I mean, I wish I had better than 11-1, but it is what it is. And I really think that's unless you go all out and just put all your money, if you're investing, like we just said, if you want to put $100 all on just one of those top 4 drivers or 5 drivers, guys like maybe McDowell, Suarez. I mean, that's probably the 2 guys outside that top 4. Those are probably the 2 guys that are talented enough to win on the road course, and you're getting decent odds. That combination.
That's it. Yeah, because everybody else, I don't see a path of them winning. I just don't. It's just hard to think that somebody's going to outright win. Those guys are just so good. Like you said, Suarez, I didn't like 11-1. I mean, he's been 28-1 and 35-1 all year. Now you put him 11-1. But top 5 there last year. He qualified 9th, qualified on the pole last week. He was 6th at Michigan. You just got to think that they're going to want to make up for that pit road problem at Indy. So you got to take them.
And they know this is it. This is their shot.
Yeah. Busher, I think, is a solid sleeper.
Who's that?
Take him because I don't – Busher.
Busher again.
8th, 4th, 10th, 11th, these tracks this season. I mean, he's a top 10 type of guy. 5th most points accumulated on road courses. 9 straight top 11s. But is he going to beat those guys? That's tough to say. Logano would probably be your longest shot that you even want to – I almost took a look at him. He was 3rd last year. He was 3rd in Sonoma. But it's about it. But he's also 45-1. And like I said last week, a lot of times when Logano's those longer odds, he finds a way to win. But then he didn't at Indy. I mean, he was
out early.
They were terrible.
Yeah.
Penske's even if he didn't get caught up in that early incident with Haley and then get spun after that on that restart, I still don't think he had much. I mean, the Fords, other than McDowell, had really nothing. I mean, McDowell was it of the Ford camp. Everybody else just didn't really see him much up front. And Hamlin, his past
he's tricky because I mean, 20-1, it's okay. 4 top fives out of his last 6 at Watkins Glen with a win. And he's led 18 laps in his entire career there, and have all come in the last 6. So I put a few bucks on him to make my money back. And I did the same. I put a few bucks on Gibbs, a few bucks on Cindric, a couple bucks on Briscoe, a few bucks on Keselowski, and even a couple of bucks on Jones at 150-1 because the guy has 4 top 10s in 5 races there.
Yep, good track for him. Denny's the one, because we talk a lot, obviously we should. Nobody's really talking much about the regular season championship, the regular season points.
Yeah.
And Hamlin's like 60 points out. He's still got a shot, but he knows, look, I'm not catching Truex. There's just I'm gonna have to make up points on him, and I don't think that happening this week. And that's why last week, if you noticed, because people were wondering, like, what's he doing?
Oh, you
Why
mean
is he
the stage
staying out,
points?
running the stage?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's not after stage points. He's after stage wins. And he saw a path that I'm going to take a playoff point. That's all he's after. I think this first 2 stages on Sunday, he doesn't care about the win. I think he knows speed-wise, we don't have the speed to beat those guys.
Unless he qualifies well.
That would be a different story. Yeah. But if you see him probably 10th on back, Hamlin, because this is what he's after. If the regular season champion has 15 playoff points, that's what they get. So Truex is in the path to get 15 more playoff points. He has 20 right now, so that'd be 35. Hamlin's got 14. Second place gets 10 playoff points. So there's a 5-point gap between that. So Hamlin's philosophy is, like last week, if I can make up that 5-point gap by getting stage wins. I'm getting playoff point per stage win. So Indy, his thought was, I got a 5-point gap, now it's 4 because I got a stage win. I think this week he's going to try to get a couple more out of the way. And his philosophy behind that is, I got knocked out by Ross Chastain by 1 point last year for a last-second move.
Yeah.
That one playoff point, that one stage win somewhere could have made sure that didn't happen. Maybe Indy is that part. Maybe that stage one he just pulled to where he was nothing all day, just got that one stage point, advances him in around the playoffs. That's how he's looking at it. So that's why I thought this week, even at that number, I'm like, I don't think he's after a race win. I mean, he'll take it. Don't get me wrong.
Again, it's all a part of qualifying. That's it.
It is.
See how these guys qualify, and if Hamlin's inside the top 5, then, maybe he goes for it early. Why not?
I mean, he qualified 22nd last year there, but we know Toyotas were down. But before that, pole in 2018, 6th in 2019, 6th in 2021.
Yeah.
So he can qualify well there.
Yep.
But there's a stretch before that where he was 10th, 37th, 36th. Or I'm sorry, that's finishing. 14th, 42nd, 23rd, 20th, 17th, 13th. So he has a tendency to also not qualify good there too. And
I wouldn't put any money on him before qualifying. I can't imagine, even if he were to poll it, that, I mean, what are you going to do with Denny Hamlin's number?
I don't think it goes much to 14-1, so. 15-1.
Maybe.
Yeah. If he's at 20-1, the most they would do is cut in half to 10-1.
And that's still a halfway decent number, yeah. So
I don't think you go from 20-1 to 5-1. I think that would be negligent. That'd be way negligent on their part. No. So I agree. I think you wait on him. I mean, Chase Elliott, his qualifying since 2017, 4th, 3rd, 1st, 11th, 1st. So he's probably going to start strong. Kyle Larson, since 2015, 6th, 2nd, 2nd, 5th, 5th, 4th, 2nd.
Yeah.
So you probably know those two are starting up front. So you might as well grab them now. And if they start up front, then their odds just increase dramatically. I mean, Elliott was in row 2 and Larson was in row 3 last week at Indy. So we know the speed's there.
Yeah, I went with some of the other long shots like Gibbs. He has an Xfinity win in 21. He led 68 laps in 2 races in Xfinity Series. And, it's been a good run for him. He's got 4 straight top 15s. I believe that's his best run since 4 straight top 10s early on in the season. He's 25-1. Cindric, We know Cindric can race well on the road courses. We know it hasn't been a good year for Cindric and all that. But the last couple have been okay. And actually, his best finishes have still been on the road courses this year and the street course. So, and he has a win in the Xfinity Series as well at Watkins Glen in 2019. And then Briscoe, well, look, I mean, he had a decent finish last week, and he's got all his guys back again, and he's doing a little bit better. I mean, that stretch he had when everybody was gone was abysmal. So at least now, he's been okay at Watkins Glen. Matter of fact, he hasn't qualified in the top 10 in either race. So if he qualifies in the top 10, he could be dangerous, considering that's maybe the last step. And he's 50-1. And Kozlowski was really the most interesting, because if you look at it, he had 3 straight runner-ups at Watkins Glen from 2011 to 2013. And in the Xfinity Series, he had 10 races there. 9 of them were in the top 10, 6 top 5s, and a win. So he has good experiences at Watkins Glen. This might be his best road course, even though he hasn't won here. But we are talking 65-1, and we know how good the Keselowski-Buescher team has been this year. So
yeah, and I think for him and Harvick, those two they've struggled lately on road courses that they're in a little points game themselves. That I think stage points they've got to run up front, because that could be a difference.
That's the thing. How do you qualify? Again, if they both qualify outside the top 10, their strategy is going to be.
Yeah, and the 2021 pole sitter was Brad Keselowski.
Oh, okay. And when did he finish, though? He didn't have a good result, did he?
35th.
Yeah.
Led 9 laps, but he's 35th. Harvick qualified 5th that year.
Something must have happened. Okay. So, last road course of the regular season. And so your top pick, if you only had one pick, now I know you spread it out, Larson, Truex, Reddick, McDowell. If you had just one pick, all right, and you can do anybody. Anybody, start from scratch, one pick. You're at the window. You have $100. You can put $100 on one driver. Who are you putting that $100 on?
I'm gonna say Larson.
Going for the three-peat.
Three-peat. Yep. They always say you're the champion, or till defending champion, whatever. Yeah. Till the night. Yep. So I'm gonna stick with it. I just feel he's been too good there. His finishes have been a lot better. I mean, Denny getting into him at Pocono, and Atlanta, we know what he does at Atlanta. Those aren't good tracks for him. So if you go all the way back to early June, 4th, 8th, 5th, 4th, take Atlanta out. 3rd, Pocono was front row. Would have been top 2. Then top 5s. And last week it was 8th, but he should have been top 5, like you said. So I just feel like as long as he has the speed, which he's had, and this is going to be a speed track, I've just got to go with him.
All right. And then you just see here, you could check out, I'll leave some links in the description area for some of Eric's stories, including, of course, his top preview of the race here. So you can check that out. So we'll have some of those links for NASCAR. Also, we've got the fantasy team information and the futures, which will be in later in the week.
Yep.
So, matter of fact, future-wise, Truex is still the favorite there at 4-1. And as far as anything sticking out, again, Blaney's still 14-1. Buescher now has come down to 15-1. So
we called that. I think we said that, didn't we? I think we said 15-1.
And he keeps dropping. Harvick is still 20-1.
Yeah.
But that's probably because he's still not in the playoffs yet, I guess.
No, but I mean, if he does, like I said, we've seen now what Ford. They've won 3 in a row now. Ford's starting to turn it around, and I just keep saying, if Harvick gets to Phoenix, we know what he can do at Phoenix. He's got like 9 or 10 wins there, for crying out loud. This is the last start, and I think a notable thing. I guess I should have said this as a notable earlier. He let it slip in his press conference on Saturday, which I think makes his recent finishes even more impressive. He's got cracked ribs. He said he fell down the stairs when he was Kevin Harvick. When he was his son Keelan
Oh,
races like go-karts, and he was over in Italy running and racing, and
okay.
Harvick slipped and fell down the stairs and cracked his ribs. And so you think this guy's been racing with cracked ribs, and his results they're pretty good for racing like that. So
Interesting.
Ford can continue to
When did this happen?
June in the off week between.
How long does that take to heal then?
I think he's pretty close to being healed. He said,
Okay.
but if you look at his finishes, you could tell where it was bothering the most because you could tell right Sonoma, and that there's like 3 races there where he didn't do anything, and then he started picking back up again. So the fact that he's doing what he did with cracked ribs, that more power to him. That's impressive.
Yeah, maybe that's a sign that healthier he gets, the more dangerous he's going to be. So, all right, next week we'll preview Daytona. Week after that, our playoff preview special. CJ will be with us, so we'll have a lot of fun there on that show. And maybe if we schedule it far enough in advance, maybe we could do a live show. So,
yeah, I was going to say that. So, yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, so we'll try to figure that all out. We'll let you know on next week's show about playoff show possibility of live, and of course the Daytona live possibilities. Maybe we'll have a little bit better weather forecast on Tuesday. Hopefully, we're doing a Tuesday show.
Yeah, hopefully there's no IndyCar press conferences or Zoom calls or whatever.
Or weather delays, and we're racing at Watkins Glen
too.
on Monday.
Yes, that too. Yeah, we're not wasting on Monday. Yes, that too.
Let's keep our fingers crossed for that. So we'll see everybody. Don't forget Discord. You can communicate with us anytime between this show and next week's show. And then check out racereviewonline.net. Eric, appreciate it.
Thank you.